Hello, fifth graders. How are you today? I so much enjoyed our Zoom session yesterday. It was so nice to finally get to see your faces and your smiles and hear your voices. I miss you guys so much. I hope you're having a wonderful day today, especially Abby. Happy birthday, Abby. And we're just going to go over some grammar today. And so I want you to get out your grammar workbooks. We're going to go over pages 91 and 92, and then you're going to do the next few pages, okay? So we were talking about helping verbs. Helping verbs just add on to another verb and help it. They kind of add to the meaning, okay? So that's what we were looking at. You should have memorized your helping verbs. I know Logan sent me his video. Nate was working on it. Everybody should send me a video of themselves saying their helping verbs from memory. If you can't figure out how to do that, then you can say it to one of your parents and have one of your parents vouch for me in an email, okay? I'll accept that. If you have a parent who emails me and says that you recited the helping verbs to them, that I will accept that as well. Okay, if you're having troubles with getting a video to me. But I want to see a video of you. You guys get to watch videos of me all the time, and it's time for me to get a chance to see a video of you saying your helping verbs. It helps to know these. When you know them by memory, it's the same as your prepositions. That way you can easily pick them out in a sentence because you know what they are. So we looked at page 91. Now, just for the sake of review, let's look at page 91. Your guided practice number 1, your subject was National Hockey League. That should be underlined. And you should have underlined does twice. Then in number 2, cities is your subject. And you should have underlined have twice. Then in number 3, we underlined players as our subject. Are traveling gets underlined twice and then usually is circled because that is the adverb in between the verb phrase. And then in number 4, they is your subject, underline that once. Will practice is your verb phrase, underline that twice. And then often, you circle that, okay? So now let's see how you did on your own. So your independent practice, team owners is your subject, and do. You should have underlined do for number 1. Number 2, you would have underlined teams as your simple subject, and then have as the proper helper. Have should be underlined twice. Number 3, underline referees once, and then underline do twice. Number 4, you're underlining teams once, that's our subject, and then have twice. Then now we're underlining, still underlining, and now we're circling the adverb that goes in the middle. So number 5, my brothers are often eating popcorn at the game. Brothers is the subject, underline that once. Are eating is the verb phrase that gets underlined twice. And then often is the adverb that gets circled. Number 6, grandmother has occasionally made cookies for them. Grandmother gets underlined once. Has made gets underlined twice. That's our verb phrase. And then occasionally is what you need to circle. Number 7, the best team will usually receive a trophy. Team gets underlined once, will receive twice because that's our verb phrase, and then usually gets circled. Number 8, the Badgers have not lost a game this year. Badgers gets underlined once. Have lost is the verb phrase. Underline that twice, and then circle not because that is an adverb. Now, 9, 10, 11, 12, you're supposed to diagram the sentences. There were 2 of you who sent me this and did these completely wrong. So you have to make sure what you're doing is you're diagramming the sentences. So for example, number 9, they want you to diagram sentence 5. So you have to go back and look at sentence 5. Now, it helps if you have done that one correctly. If you didn't do it correctly, then you're not going to be able to diagram it correctly. But now that I told you the answers, if you didn't do your diagrams right, then I want you to stop the video, go back and fix them. And by doing them correctly, what I mean is you should have the word that is the subject written on the line first. Then you should have your perpendicular line that goes through the sentence line. And then you write your verb phrase, which will be, there's 2 words in the verb phrase. And then you're finding the direct object. So the direct object answers what or who according to the subject. And then that gets there's a little slash line, and then the direct object. So let me show you. Let me find a piece of paper here. Now I know we've gone over this, but this is something that normally I would want us to do in class together, and we haven't been in class together. So if you're having a little troubles, that's okay, but we need to get this straightened out, okay? So I'm going to draw a sentence line. Okay, see, this is my sentence line. Making it longer. Okay, sentence line. Subject goes here. So whatever the word is that is the subject, line goes through, okay, the subject, and then you have your perpendicular line that goes through the sentence line, okay? Then you have your verb. All right, subject, verb. Now we've done this. I know we did this part in class, okay? We've done this much. Then we added the direct object, so that one gets a line. Remember, the direct object answers the question who or what after the verb, direct object. Okay? So this gets a perpendicular line, but it doesn't go through the sentence line. Okay? Now, if you really want to get super fancy, the adverb goes below the verb. If you wanted to add something, okay? If there's an adverb in that sentence, it would go there below the verb. Okay? And if you really want to be super, super fancy, the adjectives go underneath the words that they modify. So if there's an adjective that modifies a subject or an adjective that modifies the direct object, they would go below the words they modify. But you don't have to worry about that. What I want you to do is the subject, the perpendicular line that goes through the sentence line, the verb, the perpendicular line that stops, and then the direct object. Okay? So if that is not what you did, and I know there's at least 2 of you who did not do that properly, please stop the video, erase, fix before you watch me going over the answers, because I want you to try and get this on your own, okay? All right, so I'm going to pause for a moment so you can pause. Okay. Now, hopefully you fixed it. So, for sentence number 9, we're looking at sentence number 5. My brothers are often eating popcorn at the game. So the subject is brothers. That goes on the line first. Then we draw our line that goes through the sentence line, and we're looking for the verbs, which is are eating. So next is are eating. Now we need to find the direct object. What are they eating? They're eating popcorn. Popcorn is the direct object. Number 10 asks us a diagram. Number 6, grandmother is the subject, so that goes on the line first. Then you're going to go with has made, which is the verb, and what has she made? Cookies. Cookies is your direct object. Number 11, team is the subject. The verb is will receive. Will receive what? A trophy. Trophy is the direct object. Number 12, we're looking at sentence 8. Badgers is the subject. Have lost is the verb phrase. Have lost what? A game. Game is the direct object. Okay? And now I do expect to see apply and write. You need to do the apply and write in order to get full credits. Yes, you have to do the writing. That's why we learn grammar, is so we can get to be better writers. So here you're writing about an animal using a helping verb and a main verb and trying to add an adverb. Now I want to show you the diagrams. This is what they look like. Okay? You can see that you have the subject, the perpendicular line that goes through the sentence, the verb, and then the small little, and then the direct objects, okay? That's what I want yours to look like on the blanks. When you're diagramming, that's what you are expected to do, okay? So now let's turn and look at page 93 and 94. We're going to talk about contractions and double negatives. And this should be a little bit easier for you than some of the other things that we've been doing. Okay? Now, a contraction is made up of 2 words that are smushed together. And we know, I think you have experience with these because we talked about them in class one day, I remember. It's 2 words that are smushed together and shortened to make 1 word, and there's an apostrophe that takes the place of the letters that are taken out. In some cases, it's just 1 letter, like when you have when you have one that has the not, they just take out the O and put an apostrophe there, which is kind of pointless. But anyways, that's how we do it. Sometimes it's a couple more. So when you look in your yellow box, it shows you some contractions are formed by combining pronouns and words. So we have she plus will equals she'll. The apostrophe, they take out the WI. You have they and are becomes their. You take out the A and put the apostrophe. That's you plus have becomes you've. And I plus am becomes I'm. And then sometimes contractions are formed by adding the word not. So that would be like are plus not becomes aren't. Does plus not becomes doesn't. Sometimes contractions are formed by combining nouns and verbs. And they, instead of saying Michael is at the store, you might say Michael's at the store. Now this gets confusing because it looks a little bit like a possessive. So what you have to do is you have to figure out if that apostrophe S represents is, or does it mean that Michael is possessive, because it could be Michael's bookcase, and then it would be possessive, and we would spell it the exact same way. So you have to think about how the word is used when you see that. Dog plus is equals dogs, the dogs in the yard. Now we're going to talk about double negatives, and this is one of the things in grammar that just drives me absolutely crazy, because you see it all over the place. In fact, even in like commercials on TV, people use double negatives. A double negative is when you have two negatives in the same sentence. And a double negative is a form of saying no. So it would be like not, or wouldn't, or couldn't. A good writer needs to avoid using double negatives in a sentence. So if you see a double negative, what you need to do is replace it with something that makes more sense. Usually one of them can be deleted, and it can either be replaced with a positive word or just taken out altogether. So for example, they have I don't have no homework. Okay, that's two. We have the do not, which is a negative, and we have no, which is negative. And instead, what you should say is I don't have any homework, or just simply I don't have homework. Or you'd say there isn't no one at home, and that's incorrect because isn't is negative and so is no one. So you would say there is no one at home, or there isn't anyone at home. So you're replacing these words. So that's something that everybody needs to work on, because you sound much more intelligent when you don't use double negatives. So let's look at the guide of practice. Number one, they want us to choose the right contractions. Can be I'm going to the game tonight with my brother. Number two, we're going to say we are hoping our team wins. So it'll be we're. Now, number three, they want you to correct the double negative by either deleting it or replacing it. So it says, there wasn't no milk left. Don't say these things. It hurts my ears just to read it. There's a couple ways we could fix this. You could say there was no milk left. You could say there wasn't any milk left. You could say there was not any milk left. Any of those would be okay. All right, so with the double negatives, usually there's more than one way to fix it. As long as you're taking out one of the negatives, then you're going to be okay. All right, so now you're going to practice these on page 94. You're going to take a picture. You're going to send it to me so I can give you some points. And let's see, this one actually says apply and speak. So let me read it and see if it's something you can actually do. You don't have to do that. Talk with a partner about foods he doesn't like to eat. Ask your partner speaks. Listen carefully for any double negatives. If you hear any, work together to correct them. You could do that at home. You could talk to your family a little bit and just, now don't be the grammar Nazi who says you're using a double negative and gets really angry with people. But you can quietly and kindly correct people. And the way I do that oftentimes is simply repeating back what they said correctly back to them. So if somebody said to me, there wasn't no milk in the fridge, I'll say, there wasn't any milk in the fridge. And that way I corrected them and they hear the correction, but it doesn't make them feel bad. So, but you don't have to write anything for the apply and write. Now, the Stanley Cup, you're underlining 5 contractions and then you're separating them into 2 separate words. I want to see you doing that correctly. And for 3, 4, 5, and 6, yes, you do have to rewrite the entire sentence and rewrite it correctly. So I realize that your correction might be simply to take out a word or to change one word, but you're going to write the whole sentence and you're going to write it neat enough that I can read it. Okay? All right, guys. I'll see you again soon. Bye.